So you would think that because Florida is the home of all of the major tourist attractions, like all of its wonderful beaches, and then of course Disney and Universal Studios, that conventions would be kind of a slam dunk for Florida, but believe it or not, they have kind of a mixed reputation. I'm definitely not here to spread a bunch of hearsay or make any of the Florida cons look bad. But needless to say, they don't have the same representation that a lot of the big Georgia cons like MomoCon and AWA have. There's also not a con that's quite as big as Dragon Con in Florida at all. And it's really interesting to see the different direction that some of the organizers and staff take when deciding what events are going to be big and pushed at Florida cons. But I have to say, before I get down the rabbit hole on all of that, the Holiday Matsuri that happens right here in the middle of December is by far and a mile the best Florida con that I have attended. And I have attended a few of them, not many. I've attended Collective Con and MetroCon, and I'm avoiding MegaCon because I don't hear good things about it. And I haven't attended SuperCon in Florida, but I've attended the one and only Atlanta SuperCon, which is a whole other story for another video. But essentially in this video I'm here to answer the relevant question of how good is Holiday Matsuri as a convention, to continue my convention review series. I didn't do the HamaCon one for HamaCon MiniCon because I just ran out of time. I didn't have time to make it, and it wasn't super relevant. So maybe when next summer comes around and we don't have a main HamaCon, I'll talk about it again, because there's not a lot of cons in the dead of middle of summer like that compared to in the spring and the fall. But anyway, HallMat. So I first went to Holiday Matsuri in 2017 and went also last year. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to make it this year, but the first thing that struck me as awesome about Holiday Matsuri is the venue. So it's this amazing hotel resort that is both a hotel and convention center combined, but it's not quite like how AWA is, where it's the hotel like awkwardly connected to the convention center. This is like an entire building whose purpose was meant to be this type of venue, and it's really, really cool. It's got multiple restaurants built into it. It has a like cafeteria style food court area at the bottom where you can buy like grocery style food items for your hotel room. It's all very expensive and overpriced, but the convenience is unrivaled. And if it's best to stay on site, because I've heard some very bad things from friends of mine about the parking situation. So if you're staying on site and you're parked there permanently, like you get there on Thursday, let's say, you'll be fine for the rest of the weekend. But if you're trying to go back and forth each day because you live locally, then the parking situation is going to be challenging. In terms of events at HallMat, I can't necessarily speak to a lot of that stuff because I have never been to a panel. I've only been to 2 panels at HallMat, period, and both of them were hosted by friends of mine, so I can't really speak to what type of programming they have that's the normal. They had a rave that I casually walked into in 2017, and I wasn't terribly impressed by it. I kind of went in there more as a joke. And I don't think they really have much in terms of celebrity appearances as well. But the venue is just so nicely laid out, and the dealer's room is a great size, the artist alley is a great size, it's easy to navigate. There's a lot of people there, but because of the size of the venue, it feels spread out enough where you never get caught in a crowd or feel overly cramped. Similar, to, again, to AWA. Cosplay representation is great. There's a lot of people that travel for this con because I feel like it's the exotic, unique con because it's a holiday con, a Christmas-themed con, right in the dead of middle of December. If you're trying to go to like MetroCon or MegaCon, like it's not super convenient to travel to Florida in the dead of summer when it's blazing hot out, and there's other cons and other places around the country you could travel to. But if you're going to go to a con in December, you might as well go to HallMat. So there's certain people that I only see at certain cons, and some people I actually only ever saw at Anime Expo that I haven't seen since then, that made it to HallMat last year, and I was pretty impressed by that. So we're able to have good-sized turnouts for photo shoots without having, like, without it being chaotic, and there's still that small con atmosphere to where it's small enough to where it's not so overwhelming where people can't have those little socialization moments where they get to know each other and connect. And we've actually made quite a few friends through, again, the Fate and Fire Emblem group just by having a small con atmosphere where people can socialize and develop those friendships. And I think that's awesome. There also does not appear to be any of the other Florida con shenanigans that I didn't much care for, like MetroCon. Like, The badge is not overpriced. There's no ridiculous like weapons checking. There's no inconsistency with weapons checking policy. Registration wasn't that bad. It was a little bad last year, but they had some technical issues that I can understand. There was just no real major inconveniences that came up, and no weird quirks of how the convention is organized that I've seen at some of the other Florida cons. So I guess it comes back to that question again of what do you personally derive value from in your convention experience? Why do you go? Do you go to a lot of panels, or do you go to see a lot of celebrity guests? Because if that's the case, then I don't think this con is for you. But if you love, again, cosplay groups and you want a nice laid back con with your friends, or a con that is big enough to see a lot of impressive cosplays, but small enough to where you can actually have that intimate time to talk to people and meet people and develop new friendships, I think HoloMat is really ideal. It's still far and away my favorite Florida con, and will probably continue to be for years onwards. So if you guys are planning to go next weekend, I hope you guys have a good time. Probably the next convention review will be in January when we talk about Comic-Con, which is in Birmingham, Alabama, a convention I've been to multiple times. And I'm looking forward to that. I may try to go to that again this year if I can get the time off, but I'm not holding my breath on that. We'll see what happens. So I'll see you guys next time.